Okay, Kritika, we can start.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Independence Day to all of you. There couldn't have been a better day for this session to be held than today. That is the 75th Independence Day. It's like a perfect day for a perfect day, as it is a session by Brother Shikhar, that too on Regret Nothing, Never Say Sorry from Trust Yourself to Life by Sister Clara M. Cott. So today, for a change, let us sit in silence for 1 minute to pay our tributes to the real heroes who sacrificed their lives for our freedom and because of whom we are independently and freely solving each of our purpose. Oh, hidden life, vibrant in every atom. Oh, hidden light, shining in every creature. Oh, hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feel himself with thee know he is therefore one with every other. Come back, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Before starting the introduction of Brother Shikhar, I would like to recite a poem by Sri Rabindranath Tagore ji, if you all allow me. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arm towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habits, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Thank you again, everyone. Our speaker for the day is Brother Shikhar Agnihotri, who will talk about regret nothing, never say sorry. Brother Shikhar is a graduate in nautical science from Mumbai University. He has worked in merchant navy shipping for about 10 years before taking the voluntary retirement to take inner journey. He became a member of Theosophical Society in 2008, influenced by his mother, who is a long-standing member of the Theosophical Society. He is the founder member of Pragya Theosophical Society Lodge and Maitri TOS Group in Lucknow. He is the national speaker of the Indian section since 2015. He's more interested in practical implementation of theosophy in daily life. He has conducted various of study camps, seminars, workshops, youth camps for Indian section at various places. He has been given the duty of international speaker of the Theosophical Society since 2019. Right now, volunteering at the international headquarters of the Theosophical Society in Adyar. Let us all welcome Brother Shikhar for today's talk. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Kritika, for such wonderful poem in the beginning and for the introduction and in your very inspiring way of putting up things. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. and welcome to this session of Young Indian Theosophists, and happy Independence Day to all. So today's session in this book is actually very, okay, all the sessions are very important. I'm not saying this is the only one important, but this is the subject that might give us some new insights about our approach to life. And if we see how Clara Cord is taking us through a journey by slowly taking us through all the aspects of life that touches us somewhere deep. She told us about what is God, the man, and then how the life evolves, the natural laws. And then the last one was the secret of sin and suffering, because a lot of uh, people think like that suffering comes when you do sins. So the next chapter, that this one that she has written, is very much in line with the last one and as a preparatory chapter for the next one. And the title of this chapter, Regret Nothing, Never Be Sorry, seemed very unusual because we are taught normally to feel guilty and be sorry for something wrong that we have done. So let us try to find out the full picture and check the reference and context of the statement before arriving at any conclusion just by the title. So let us see what Clara Cord is saying here in this chapter. Is first we'll be taking it in sessions. So first, this one what she's talking about is learn from the mistakes and do not continuously repent over them. So she is writing that once Master M wrote to Mr. William Kwan Judge, who was one of the founders of the Theosophical Society, along with HPB and HSO. He wrote actually only one sentence, that regret nothing, never be sorry, but cut all doubts with the sword of knowledge. But there is further more to this statement. Why the master is saying that? Regret nothing, never be sorry, but cut all doubts with the sword of knowledge. Because regret is only productive of error. I care not what I was or what anyone was. I only look for what I am every moment. Because as each moment is, and at once is not, it must follow that if we think of the past, that I did this mistake, I did that mistake, I could have done otherwise, and we continuously feel sorry and depressed. In doing so, we forget the present. And while we forget the present, the moments fly by us, making us more and more past. And so, regret nothing, not even the greatest mistakes or follies of your life, because they are gone. And you are to work in the present, which is both past and future at once. So this is a very, very important message just in the beginning of the chapter, that it doesn't matter what big mistake or small mistake we have done in the past. It doesn't matter. Whatever has happened has happened. The furthermore we, keep pondering about it, thinking about it, we will only waste the opportunity, that the gift that we call the present. So stop repenting again and again over a mistake. Instead, the real repentance is to learn the lesson and never repeat the same mistake. And why is it important also? Also, HPB is saying in that reference that remorse arose from the sense of personality. It means it's not just the pleasure or happiness that is, or pride that comes out when there is a sense of personality. Even remorse is an aspect of egoism or pride, because I am considering myself the doer. I am not looking at the bigger picture. Just as I feel pride in success, similarly, there is a negative pride or the remorse when I fail. So actually, both of them are the aspect or sense of personality. If the sense of personality is very strong, this even remorse is the aspect of that. And at that time, the problems of life in the William Yuan Judge's life, some events were going on. So what the master is suggesting him, that the problems of life to be even faintly understood, if there is a problem or challenge that has come in our life of any sort, if we really want to understand it, it must be viewed from a great standpoint, like not just a small portion, like looking through a small keyhole or a door hole from the glass. In fact, we have, if we really want to understand the full picture, we have to look at in its wholeness. Then only we will understand the whole situation. And she says, in the night of time, they are rooted and cannot be judged from the present hour alone. Just like the day is rooted in the night and does not appear suddenly, similarly, the problems of life have their causes in earlier events and now are only the results happening. So, if we judge a situation by merely observing one fact, like if in the movies we go and see, if we only watch the second half, let's suppose, or the first half, it would be very unbalanced, because in the second half most of the times whoever is the main character is winning over the negative character, the good character is winning over the, so it may not seem impartial or whole. But if we only see the first half, maybe the negative character is winning over the positive character. That will also not seem complete. So if we want to understand the situation, we have to see the full movie or the full picture to understand how the cause, how the effect is related to the cause, and further the effect creates further causes. And why is it so? Why she's bringing that? Because I think maybe it's because of the teaching that people receive in some of the religions where rebirth or reincarnation is not taught recently. Earlier it may have been, but not now, like in Christianity or Islam. They think there is only one life and we have born like this. God has made like this. So whatever we do, sin or good deeds, it is just for this one life. But what they do not understand is human being is not a newly created, arbitrarily endowed being. He's a creature in process of evolution, an ever progressing, ever unfolding unit of consciousness. And she says, faint are the adumbrations of glory from which he came, and it does not yet appear what he shall be. Means we are in that stage of evolution where we are not yet able to see from where we have come, how grand our source is, how grand we are, and we are actually going back to that place or that state of consciousness. And so looking at our present way of being, our state of being, we think, I mean, there are various words that come, that we do commit sins and bad deeds, and we are to be redeemed by someone else. That thought has to be transcended, and we have to realize that this is not, we are in the process of evolution. We have been like that, but what matters most is what we are, and from here, what directions do we choose. Then she stresses upon the aspect of we are the world. She says, man is not separate from the surrounding universe. The two are intimately related. The problem of the individual is the problem of the world. And in solving his own mystery, a human being solves the mystery of the universe, which is the field of his growth and evolution. And this is something I think every wise person or enlightened being, or even a person with common sense, has emphasized on this fundamental fact that we are the world. We are not a collection of isolated beings put together here. Instead, we are interconnected, interdependent parts of the whole. And therefore, there is a mutual interaction of energies leading to a chain of cause and effects, which we mistakenly call as the fate or providence, as if someone is sitting in the sky and deciding our destinies. And I think the same thing has been said by Confucius, that if we want to change the world, we have to change the country, we have to change the society, we have to change the family. But ultimately, the first step is we have to bring about a change in our heart. Like if we will change, the times will change. The world and we are not different. And what are we? We are gods in exile. This is actually the name of the book by Wanderly You. But what Clara Cord is saying in a very symbolical and allegorical way, that from the bosom of the Father, the eternal life, we, the divine possibilities, came forth long ages ago and fell in inverted commas, into these lower planes of experience, in order that through slow unfoldment and growth, we might realize our potentialities and learn to express ourselves fully in them. Thus, we left the Garden of Eden, again in inverted commas, to eat the bitter bread of life's experiences here. So actually in just a couple of sentences, she has explained or tried to explain the initial chapters, what she has written, what is God, what is a human being. And we have again and again studied this in theosophical literature or otherwise also, that we are the spark of that divine flame. And we have come forward or come down, or what is often called as fell into these lower planes of experiences. Like we are the monads, the unit of consciousness, and we have the omniscience, omnipotence in our own level of existence. But we do not have the experience of these lower planes of physical plane, of astral plane, mental plane, and Buddhic plane. So, to have these experiences and to develop our potentialities, the possibilities into capacities, we come down, as we have seen maybe sometimes back in some of the slides, that how the monad reaches out down, it lowers its rays on Atmic, Buddhic, and higher Manas region, forms a reflection of its own, which is called Jivatma. And that Jivatma again further sends a reflection connected to its self in lower mental plane, astral plane, and physical plane, which is known as Dehatma or personality. And itself remaining on the highest plane, it keeps getting the experiences, the vibrations from these lower vehicles, and gradually evolves over a period of, I mean, we don't know how many lives. It's not just a matter of one life, it's hundreds of thousands of life, and not just human being lives as a human being, but also beginning with elemental kingdom, coming to mineral, vegetable, animal, and then human, and then superhuman. And all of this have been explained in all the religious scriptures, but in an allegorical way. Like she has quoted that because in I think Bible it is said the fall of angels, so that's why she has used the word that we fell into these lower plane of experiences. It's not really a fall, it is a process of evolution. And similarly, the Garden of Eden that is mentioned in Bible, or we have the Kurukshetra of life in Bhagavad Gita or Mahabharata, that this whole world around us is our Kurukshetra or Garden of Eden. But what is the purpose of this Garden of Eden or this Kurukshetra? That is very important. As we discussed, that the purpose of it is that we become able to use, to be master of all these planes, of all these lower vibrations that as of now, as a monad, we are not able to work in them. It's like I'm not able to swim, and I may be a very good pilot of the helicopter or aeroplane, but I don't know how to swim. So to learn swimming, I have to jump in the water and learn swimming by a trainer or by doing some exercises. But how does this world helps us gain that self-consciousness? That self-consciousness arrives in the middle of dualities. We all have Adam and Eve within us. Adam, the earth, is the visible bodily self. Eve, the more intuitive soul. The creative hierarchies symbolized by the serpent attracted the divine units of consciousness into the cycle of necessity to begin their tremendous evolution. We might have read the story of in Bible that Adam and Eve were there in the heaven, and then there was an apple tree, and then there is a serpent who lured them into eating the apple tree, which was a forbidden fruit, and then by eating that fruit they fell from heaven. So if many people maybe understand, take it literally, and maybe that's why the snake or the serpent has become such a source of negative symbolism, but actually the serpent or the dragon has for in the earlier ages has been the symbol of wisdom, nagas. And if you read in Indian scriptures, almost everywhere there has been some serpent playing a very important role, whether it is a Sheshnag under the Lord Vishnu's as a Lord Vishnu's bed, or Vasuki around Lord Shiva's neck, or in other references. So it is due to these serpents, the divine hierarchies, the divine units of consciousness, that is the monads, come into the cycle of necessity. Why necessity? Because without this cycle, in the first chapter, if you remember, we discussed that we are unconsciously pure. Then we come down, or let's say in the process of evolution, we become unconsciously impure because spirit is coming down in the matter. It is involution taking place. Then with this evolution going on, we gradually become aware of good and bad, sin and virtues, and what to do, what not to do, discrimination. But still we continue to do it because the habit is there. So we become consciously impure, and then we work upon ourselves and reach back to our original state of being, but this time consciously pure. That we know who we are, we know the powers that we have, we know how all the workings of all the natural laws and how to work with them. And all of this happens, this self-consciousness happens, we have to come under the play of what in the East is called the pair of opposites. I think that is a very beautiful thing. In the East, she is quoting our scriptures, pair of opposites. They are a necessary condition for the evolution of self-consciousness. For unless we had the experience of the night, we should not know that it was day. Unless we had been unhappy, we would not know that we were happy. Unless we had experienced evil, we would not know wherein good truly lay. Similarly, unless we fall ill or sick, we don't realize actually that we are healthy. It's a very strange thing that when we are healthy, the thought of being healthy never comes in our mind that we are healthy. And we should be grateful for that. It's only when we have the slightest of the problem in our body that we suddenly realize, oh, something is not right, or some organ or something is not working properly, and then we try to get it back. So the ancient Indian scriptures, more metaphysical than those of the West, symbolized this truth in the story of the churning of the waters of space by the Devas, the forces of light, and the Asuras, the powers of darkness. They push in the opposite directions, yet as the wheel of time and space revolves, it is the same direction. This is very uh, beautiful allegory of a wheel that in the stages of evolution, there was a stage of evolution when a person cannot even think of right or wrong. Whatever is our desire, we just want to fulfill it. And there are still, and we also sometimes maybe keep making our body sick to an extent. We might eat something which our tongue wants, but maybe it's not good for our body, but still we go through it and face the consequences. But overall, what she is emphasizing and what the ancient Indian scriptures in a symbolized story say, we all might have read or heard the story of Samudra Manthan, the churning of the ocean, where the Nag Vasuki was used as a rope and Mandaranchal Parvat was used as the churning rod. On one side was the Asuras, and one side were the Devas, to find out actually the elixir of life, Amrit. And in doing so, a lot of things came out which are called the Ratnas, the 14 Ratnas. Okay, the list changes somewhere, it is at 10 or 14 or 12. But basically, ultimately, it was done for the nectar of immortality or the elixir of immortality or Amrit. If we go to this story literally, that some suras are there and they are churning with the snake and the mountain, it would seem very actually ridiculous that something like that is happening. But if we look at it with the theosophical viewpoint, with the symbolism and allegory behind it, that actually these suras and asuras are actually the pair of opposites, the forces. And actually, if you see the sign of swastika, the sign of swastika is also the two forces. One is horizontal and the other is perpendicular. And the whole, when they move in a circular fashion as a wheel, it's like a flame. The tail comes little bit behind the trace, and that forms the signs of swastika. So actually the swastika sign is that hidden symbol of these two forces working together and carrying the process of evolution. And in this evolution, the nectar of immortality or Amrit is the enlightenment, the Atma Gyan or self-knowledge. When we come to know actually who we are, there is no liquid or chemical that is going to come out of some ocean that we drink and we live forever, because nobody can live forever in the physical body. Physical body has its time limit. Even the Mahatmas, the masters, they may live for 100, 500, thousands of years, but because they follow the natural laws. But at some point, they also have to leave that physical body and take a new one, because the natural laws cannot be broken. So that is what she is saying, that although we think that someone is against us or someone is obstructing our progress, but no, even that force which we think is against us, or giving that person is very bad person or very bad boss who is, torturing me, because torturing me to work on Sundays or overtime, or treating me badly, or a neighbor who is like that, or a roommate in the college, and all sorts of situations you can imagine. Wherever there is an opposing force, we tend to think negatively about them, but actually they, along with the support that we get, are helping us to evolve, because the wheel, whether you push from the top to the right or to the left from the bottom, the wheel is going only in one direction. And that is where she comes to law of retribution, or law of karma, which is very important. And this was the second part that I was saying, that it might change our view of looking at pain or suffering. She says, life is a continual round of choices. Often we choose unwisely, which is nothing wrong with that, because we don't have yet enough experience. And there is nothing shameful or nothing wrong in making some wrong choices, as long as we learn from them. But with those experiences that we get, the lessons that we get from our wrong choices, we learn to obey the law. If I do not carry my driving license, or I'm not putting my seat belt, or I'm not wearing a helmet, and I'm riding the bike or car, and I get a challan and a fine of 500 or 1,000 or 10,000, whatever the ministry decides, next time I will be more careful. Or if I park in a wrong place, my vehicle will be lifted. So next time I will learn to obey the law by the reactions of life we call sorrow and pain. That fine that I receive, or the mental torture that I get from the as the consequences for my breaking the law, I learn to obey the law, because the great law is the divine life in action. And that is what the source of happiness also. When a person chooses that which helps which is in accordance with the law, joy comes with enlightened choosing. The result is a strengthening of the bond between man and God. It's very simple. If I follow the law, I'll be very happy. There will be no fear. Imagine if you don't have a ticket on a train. Suppose we didn't have time, and the train is about to leave, and we just got into the train or a bus. Then every person who might be wearing something black or white would look like to us as a ticket collector, because there will be so much fear in the mind that I don't have the ticket. And from a distance, whoever, and if the ticket collector is really coming, then the heart will be pounding and you feel that fear. But if you have a ticket, you actually might not even realize until the time that the person comes to you and shakes you while you're looking outside the window, that ticket please. So that's what happens when we follow the laws of nature. When we choose according to the laws of nature, fear does not exist. But what people try to do superficially, that they want to fight their fear, to overcome their fear. But actually, if you go to the root of it, that if we are living our life as per the laws of nature, the fear will not exist. The only thing that exists will be happiness. That's what she's saying. And that happiness is why? Because the bond of man and God, us and God, will be strengthened. That is, we will become closer to our real nature when we are following the laws. So that gives that bliss. But when a person chooses that which is for himself alone, that is, we do anything selfish without considering others, how much damage it will do to others, misery and darkness follow upon his heels. That is a natural consequence. If I only think of myself, that will bring to me unhappiness, depression, sadness. And then what we do? We keep living like this. And then to get rid of depression and unhappiness and all those things, we want to do meditation, we want to do something else. But if we go in the root of the things, that it is my way of living, the selfish way of living that is creating this, that realization itself will help me to change the way of life, and the happiness or the bliss or peace or whatever we call will just be a byproduct of that way of living. And when we began the great path of evolution, that this is very important thing that she's saying now, that since we are on the path of evolution, in the beginning we were not so discriminative in choosing what is to do, what is not to do. So we did a lot and lot of anti-social deeds, maybe hurt people even, to extreme extent, and placed many a stumbling block in our brother's way. Like we might have been very, very selfish, and we might have caused a lot of damage to others. So what she says, every hurt done through hate or carelessness in the past now comes back as limitation and pain. So whatever limitation and pain we are having in this life is basically because what we did something in the past. But the great truth to understand is that it is not as a punishment that it is coming to us. That is the whole game changer. If we are able to look at our limitations, the sufferings, and the pain in our life, not as a punishment for our bad deed, but as the cure of the original blindness, or as a help from nature for us to learn and grow. That is what she is saying, that pain and discomfort are always evidence of nature's curative forces at work, physically and psychically. It's like a surgeon. I have, suppose, something in my body, something that needs operation, a surgery. So, okay, now we have anesthesia and all. Okay, but even after anesthesia, a lot of pain occurs after the surgery and its effect dies down. So it means if I go to the operation table and I see the doctor with all the knives and cutting tools and everything, I would think he's my enemy, he's going to cut me and he's going to do harm to me. No, that surgery is that pain or that suffering is for removing the tumor, or for any infected part, which is basically is the consequence of some bad deed. If somebody has been smoking, or somebody has been taking alcohol a lot, there may be a lot of bad things, or maybe a stone in gallbladder or something here and there. It has to be removed. So if I start thinking that the doctor is my enemy and he is punishing me for my doing bad things in the past, that will make it even worse. But if I think, oh, he or she, the doctor is here to help me get over this thing, and from here on, I can start my life afresh. And HPB has some wise words on this. She says, sadness is not evil. What seems to be sufferings and obstacles are often in reality the mysterious efforts of nature to help you in your work if you can manage them properly. They are the growing pains of life, not retribution, but education. So that is, so the right understanding what she says. So do not let us say because of this in the past, that is how I am in the present. No, we shall say that because of what I shall be in the future, so is it now that I am in the present. And that is the same, the viewpoint of Christ. When a person, when a disciple asked him about a person who was blind, whether the person or his parents had sinned in the past, and this is the consequence, he said, no, it was not retribution, but so that the work of God might be made manifest in him. So that is what she's saying. We must view the pain in the right direction, and then we lose our fear for it. If we could do that wholly, we will grow very fast. That is what is called courageous endurance of personal injustice. Injustice, what we are calling injustice, is actually the justice of what the cause we are not able to see right now, but definitely we must have created the cause in some past life, the result of which is coming now. So the only way is of it is to have courageous endurance, or what at the feet of the master says, we have to have cheerfulness while facing whatever sufferings come our way in this life. And that is why the higher indifference, called in the East vairagya, is sought after by a person who is trying to reach the goal of life, called in the East liberation, and in the West salvation. But liberation or salvation from what? From the dualities, from the ignorance of our smaller selves and its attendant sorrow. Similarly, she has given the example of a river, that the soul of a person is like a river flowing to the sea, the divine life, which is at once the source and the goal of its being. Was there any river which did not one day reach the sea? But also it does not go straight to the sea. It takes its own path peculiar to itself, and its windings and wanderings make the infinite variety of life and experience. It does not go straight. Sometimes it goes through forest, sometimes it goes through desert, but it does not get attached to the forest, or it does not get repulsed by the desert. That is why, but we often, too often desire our joys, and we will not want to let them pass, and we want to avoid the sufferings. So that's why what she's saying, vairagya, the sorrows of men are not a sinking ship, but a bursting bird. So the sorrows or the hard times that come in our life are not sinking ship. They are not here to suppress us or sink our ship, but a bursting bird. That is the season in which a plant takes root and grow. Joys are our wings, sorrows are our spurs. Spurs is a very interesting word. You might have seen the cowboys in the movies sometimes. The special kind of shoe that they have, the heel of the shoe, a small spike. So that spike is for the horse riders. They slowly, when touch the horse with that, it motivates the horse, urges the horse to move forward. So basically, the sorrows that come to our life are here to push us forward. Because imagine if our life was completely smooth, we might become very, unless and until a person is at such an advanced level that he or she can manage his so much of awareness that they learn from their smoothness also. But otherwise, the person might become very lazy if they don't have to do anything to earn. And sometimes it also looks that some good people have more sorrow in their life, and those who are wicked, they are flourishing like anything. Why it happens? And this question arises in many people's mind. This is because the recording angels of karma keep away from man a lesson too hard for him. Why? Because if the people start getting the karma immediately, they might not be able to take it, and actually they would be crushed. So that's what is another part of karma, that many of our karmas, negative karmas, extreme negative karmas, are kept by nature in sanchit karmas, and they are brought to us when we have evolved to such a degree that we are able to face them, at least in the nature's eyes. Otherwise, we might be crushed. So that is also the way of nature, the compassionate way of nature. And this is especially noticeable in the person who is nearing adeptship, because on that path, he must pay every outstanding debt that or she has incurred in the past in order to be freed for greater service. So basically, on the path of Nivritti Marga, we have to repay our all the debts, no matter when and to whom, how we did it. So we have to repay, then only we will be free. And that is, and there is an example she gives, that when a Maharani asked Buddha how she could be surrounded by loving and generous friends in future life, he said, in this life, O Queen, you must learn to give away with both hands. And the same said by Christ, give and it shall be given unto you. Another important thing is to never seek revenge, because that is in the hands of life. Because when we take revenge, there is a personal interest. Our personality is involved. But when the natural law is being followed, nature's retribution is perfectly impartial. And that is how it could never be same with us. Similarly, sometimes a person who did hypocrisy or who did deeds and words untrue, they come back as an unmerited reproach or misunderstanding by others. Many times it happens. And that's what she's giving the reason, that if in the past we have been a hypocrite, and most of us might have been that path, and that's why when we start walking this path, all those karma comes not to stop us, but to make ourselves stronger. Similarly, she gives an example when a blind urge or a selfish cruelty defaces the body of a brother person. To the doer thereof comes back in the future deformity or terrible disease. Similarly, but the cruelty of a more refined kind, the deliberate torture of another's mind and heart, this shall come back to the perpetrator as a broken mind, as an isolated heart, and he shall by no means escape from that prison of his own making until he has paid the uttermost farthing. That is, pai ka hisab. So we have to give the hisab, the account of every act we did, every word we uttered, every thought we had. Similarly, the opportunities denied. We often say, oh, I didn't get the opportunity, I have the talent, but I am not, fortunate like someone else. What are they? But the other side of opportunities let slip at other times. Means we have let slip the opportunities in the past, and that is the reason which, due to our laziness, due to our pride or whatever, and that's now these opportunities now, are denied to us. So shall frustration teach us in the end how to turn laziness to the power of effort and of will. It is the gift of pain alone which can clear the soul's true vision. And the same thing Mrs. Besant said to Clara Cord, that when I look back over life, I would willingly surrender all my joys, but not my sorrows, because I learned a lot from them. And finally, she says that in all those sufferings, but it is when the dark cloak of uttermost shame covers a man that eternal life becomes most wonderful. There have been times, many a times, that there have been moments of shame of some past acts of the people that come now to them. They make teaches us how beauty and righteousness are not for ourselves alone, but are His shining through us to illuminate the dark places on earth. Thus is our pride slain, that we may learn the purity of heart which never shrinks from anything of shame, the tenderness of the mind which sees the sinner and the saint as one. So that's the part that shame plays in our life. And one day all evil will have vanished, its function will have ceased for us forever. Evil is but the absence of good as yet unborn, pain but the way whereby that glory is born. So basically, she is trying to say that pain and sorrow are life's ambassadors, its messengers. Some people say, schoolmen, they say, and maybe mostly in Christian schools, maybe that pain is the punishment for sin, the unerring avenger following the heels of our mistakes. But the artist knows more than the philosopher. The one who knows most of all is the lover, and in the humblest heart, wherein love dwells, lies the seat of the most perfect wisdom. So, if during the times that we are having pain in our life, if love in our heart be guarded, that is what is courageous endurance of personal injustice, cheerful facing the difficulties of our life. After a time will be born true wisdom. He will know, he who suffers and yet loves, how pain is the great regenerator. Because the eyes of the soul are clouded outward on the outward plane of things, who can never see the heart of things, see sin, and the darkness following after they call retribution. So that's how the pain and suffering brings a clarity to the eyes of the soul, and then perchance it will be that the little human heart will surrender the woe, that is the sorrow that is henceforth his no longer, but has become love set free for all men's helping. And that is how we see, see that pain and suffering are actually not for here for making us, giving us some punishment of the sin that we have done, but actually here to help us grow. And with these words, I end this presentation. I think I took a lot of time. Kritika, over to you.
Thank you so much, Brother Shikhar. From whatever I grasped, I have learned this, that we all have regrets in our life, we all have pains, and we all have struggles. But to take the pain and sorrows as a fuel and turn it as a fuel towards success, like whatever great names we have heard, be it Albert Einstein, be it Mahatma Gandhi, all had been, all had faced a very struggling journey. But then the pain and the sorrows they faced, they utilized it and used it as a weapon, as a fuel towards the journey of their success. So this is what I learned. And also there was a line written in the starting that regret nothing, never be sorry, but cut all the doubts with the sword of knowledge. So this is a very impactful line, that knowledge is literally like a sword, and with knowledge we can cut all the regrets and all the sorrows we have in life. And then a very good example given by Brother Shikhar was the ticket, that if we don't have a ticket, so literally that ticket is like the correct path, and whenever you are on the correct path, you don't fear because you have the confidence, and confidence gives us happiness, because whenever you are confident, you'll realize that जब कोई डर ही नहीं है तो खुशी ही खुशी है. So this is what I have learned. And then pain is not retribution but education. Like everyone should just immediately write this line and stick it on their vision boards, because we should take कहते हैं ना कि सीख लेनी चाहिए. So we should take the pain as a lesson, as an education, that next time we won't repeat, and we will definitely then lead to the path towards the success. Because there is nobody who cannot be successful, literally nobody. It is why are the people, the number of success rates so low? Because the people don't learn from their success. They choose to be mediocre. They choose and accept the mediocrity. And those who shine, they shine because they always learn from their pains and their sorrows, and they never regret. This is what I have learned, and if I have learned this, I am sure and assured, and I'm hoping that you all are elders and you must have learned a lot of things. So
I learned a lot of things from this chapter and the book, of course.
So that is why I said in the starting that this is a perfect day for a perfect lesson, for a perfect chapter by a perfect facilitator.
So independence from fear.
True.
Where the head is held high and without fear.
See, the perfect day.
Yeah.
So the forum is open for any questions, suggestions, or comments. It is like I am becoming the dictator of this group. I have to always say names.
No. That is the part of being the moderator, not a dictator. It's the moderator who has the right.
I feel like I always target people.
Dictator is hidden in moderator. सचमुच आज का विषय बहुत ही रोचक था और बहुत सिखाने वाला था. मैंने भी कुछ सीखा और एक परंपरा सी बन गई है. पता नहीं क्या होता है कि पन्ने भर जाते हैं यहाँ पर, तो जो लिखा है वही पढ़ देता हूँ. कुछ गलतियां होगी तो मैं ही सीखूंगा. वक्त गुजरता रहता है, तू कर्म करता रहता है. वक्त गुजरता रहता है, तू कर्म करता रहता है. याद रख, गलतियों की गलियों से गुजरकर ही सफलता का रास्ता मिलता है. याद रख, गलतियों की गलियों से गुजरकर ही सफलता का रास्ता मिलता है. चुनौतियां आती हैं, गुजर जाती हैं. कुछ ठहर जाती हैं, कुछ फिसल जाती हैं. चुनौतियां आती हैं, गुजर जाती हैं. कुछ ठहर जाती हैं, कुछ फिसल जाती हैं. न दुख कर गलतियों के होने का, न गम कर चुनौतियों के फिसल जाने का. गलतियों, चुनौतियों और एहसास की लड़ाई का सामना कर, युद्ध कर ज्ञान की तलवार से. गलतियों, चुनौतियों और एहसास की लड़ाई का सामना कर, युद्ध कर ज्ञान की तलवार से. दोष को दोष मत दे, दोष का दोष मत दे स्वयं को. दोष का दोष मत दे स्वयं को. दोष मुक्त हो, दोष से मुक्त कर स्वयं को. दोष का दोष मत दे स्वयं को. दोष मुक्त हो, दोष से मुक्त कर स्वयं को. सूक्ष्म ज्ञान से ब्रह्म ज्ञान की भव्य काया को स्वयं में खोज, स्वयं में आजमा. सूक्ष्म ज्ञान से ब्रह्म ज्ञान की भव्य काया को स्वयं में खोज. असफल होगा तभी अहटा सफल होगा. असफल होगा तभी अहटा सफल होगा. दुखी होगे तभी सुख को समझ पाओगे. अस्वस्थ होगे तभी अहटा स्वस्थ हो पाओगे. चलोगे तभी थकोगे. थकोगे तभी तो चैन की नींद पाओगे. चलोगे तभी थकोगे. थकोगे तभी तो चैन की नींद पाओगे. जीवन के नियम है निराले, स्वार्थ से टूट जाते हैं सारे. जीवन के नियम है निराले, स्वार्थ से टूट जाते हैं सारे. स्वार्थ के नशे में चूर जीवन मूल्यों को हम गंवाते हैं सारे। स्वार्थ के नशे में चूर जीवन मूल्यों को हम गंवाते हैं सारे। जीवन चक्र के नियम दोहरे हैं, जैसी करनी वैसी भरनी तो होगी। जीवन चक्र के, ये जरा ध्यान से सुनना, जीवन चक्र के नियम दोहरे हैं, जैसी करनी वैसी भरनी तो होगी। बदल कर तू जैसी भरनी वैसी करनी भी कर सकता है। बदल कर तू जैसी भरनी वैसी करनी भी कर सकता है। जो बोओगे सो पाओगे होगा। जो बोओगे जो पाओगे होगा। बदल कर जो पाना है उसे भी तो तू बो सकता है। बदल कर जो पाना है उसे भी तो तू बो सकता है। और अंतिम है, दुख से सुख पाकर दुखों को मत भूल। दुख से सुख पाकर दुखों को मत भूल। असफलता से निकल सफल हो, सफलता की सीख को मत भूल। असफलता से सफल हो, असफलता की सीख को मत भूल। अस्वस्थ थे जब स्वस्थ हो, अस्वस्थता के कारण को मत भूल। अस्वस्थ से जब स्वस्थ हो तो अस्वस्थता के कारणों को मत भूल। दर्द के दर से निकलकर सुख पा। दर्द के दर से निकलकर सुख पा, पर दर्द की कीमत मत भूल। पर दर्द की कीमत मत भूल।
Wow. See, that is why I always want कि तरल sir कुछ तो बोले. Because when he speaks, it is like, wow.
Really?
Sir, could you please share this on our WhatsApp group? कि those who are not attending the session, they can also.
इसको ठीक से लिखूंगा। अभी तो ये बहुत काटाकुटी ऐसी लिखी जाती है, फेयर कर लूंगा। काफी सारी, एक्चुअली क्या हुआ, मुझे एहसास हो रहा है अभी कि हर चैप्टर का ऐसा एक कविता का सार बन पड़ा है। मैं इकट्ठा करके भेजूं।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, वेरी नाइस सर जी, थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू सो मच सर।
और आज शिखर जी आपने बहुत ही आत्मीयता से सब कुछ समझाया, तो शायद थोड़ा लंबा बन गया ये मेरा लिखना, लेकिन हर चीज बहुत अच्छे से समझ में आई, मजा आ गया।
And I was thinking that this was such a small chapter, it will be finished in 20-25 minutes, but I don't know how it happened.
नहीं, आप एक बहुत अच्छे फ्लो में थे सर, मतलब मजा आ गया।
Thank you.
Actually, I read the chapter a few days back, but then I was like, ऐसे सर के ऊपर से आधी चीजें चली गई. But now that you have explained and the examples you quoted, it was like perfect. Every line is now so clear, crystal clear. Sister Subrina, would you like to say something?
No, I have not much to add. What I believe and what I have kept on reading and following is, when you are on the path, when you are on the righteous path, you are actually fearless. There is nothing to fear. And freedom from fear is freedom from everything. Wow. Once we are fearless, we are absolutely free to embrace anything that happens to us. That's what I sincerely believe. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Sister
you.
Hansi, like to add on?
This Shinde sir and Lokhande sir, I request them to speak today.
Professor Shinde ji is also here. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Very good, very happy Independence Day. We celebrate, can I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Today is the Independence Day. Yes, we are thinking of freedom of fear. Fear is the highest obstacle. So what is that most highest fear is the death. Death is the highest fear, and Theosophy has made us free from the death. When it is stating that life is not having any beginning and ending, so there is no death to the life. So when we think of life, it is wonderful to think of freedom from fear of death. And in this Independence Day, independence is not, or freedom is not much more important. What is important today is interdependence. So interdependence is the wonderful way to be free from the all kinds of fears. And the way is service and sacrifice. So it is not that we have not served. We served as elements, minerals, plants, animals, and evolved onto individuals. So now we have to have in us devotion, dedication, and reality, leading to harmony and boundless, we may grow to infinity. So unity amongst diversity is the path to eternity. Space, time, and self, though there are illusions, we can find with freedom, infinity, eternity, unity as the vision. So science, philosophy, religion, the Trinity blossoms the evolution of humanity, and we all are interdependent. That is what we need to understand. This is the independence message. Freedom, rather than freedom, independence is more important. Independence and interdependence. Thank you for all this, your discussions, wonderful discussions, and I congratulate everyone who participated this, even including Taral Munshiji. I heard his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Shikhar.
Thank you for joining, sir. Thank you.
Lokhande ji, sir, would you like to comment something?
हेलो मैडम, शिखर जी ने जो सिंबॉलिक एक्सप्लेनेशन दिया है, जो आज के न्यू जनरेशन के लिए बड़ी आवश्यक चीजें हैं, जिन्होंने सूर, असुरा, वासुकी, ये सारी चीजें जो चित्रों में हम देखते हैं, नए जनरेशन को अगर उसके अर्थ जिस तरह से शिखर जी ने बताए, ये बहुत अच्छी बात है। और इस तरह के आयोजन जो युवा वर्ग में ज्यादा से ज्यादा हमारे परंपराएं और जो भी हम जिसकी पूजा करते हैं बचपन से, जो हम पर संस्कार हुए हैं, उसके पीछे के जो हिडन मीनिंग है, गहरे अर्थ है, वो अगर हम प्रसारित कर सके तो हो सकता है हम लोग फिर से अपना जो मूल है, जो हमारा सनातन सिंबल है, उसके प्रति ज्यादा आदरपूर्ण होंगे, रिस्पेक्टफुल होंगे और थियोसॉफी को एक आनंद के रूप में इसका स्टडी करते रहेंगे, और जो हमारी जीवन में एक बहुत बहुमूल्य परिवर्तन करेगा, जो हमारे सुंदर जीवन के लिए आवश्यक है। भय के बारे में जो आपने बताया है शिखर जी ने, कि हर आदमी किसी न किसी भय से ग्रस्त होता है, और भयमुक्त जीवन ये स्पिरिचुअल जीवन जीने के लिए बहुत सहायक होता है। इस बात का मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा। थैंक यू शिखर जी एंड ऑल पार्टिसिपेंट, स्पेशली यूथ्स, जिन लोगों का शायद आज के इसमें बहुसंख्यक युवाओं का आकर्षण कुछ और है, और आप सबका मैं अभिनंदन करता हूं कि आप इतने गहरे विषय में इस उम्र में जुड़े हो। आपका भविष्य उज्जवल है। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. Okay, we are running out of time, but if you allow me, can we hear something from Sister Vasumati? I'm really looking forward.
हेलो एवरीबॉडी, और बहुत बधाई। आज का विषय बहुत अच्छा था, क्योंकि हम सभी अपनी प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ में इन सब चीजों से जूझते हैं, और जब जूझते हैं तो अब इन चीजों को भूल भी जाते हैं, लेकिन जब ये फिर से प्रस्तुत किया जाता है तो वो फिर से हमको समझ में आ जाता है। तो मैं इस बात के लिए बहुत आभारी हूँ कि आज के विषय ने मेरे मन में कुछ धुंध थी, उसको बहुत क्लियर किया है, उसको बहुत साफ किया है। तो मैं इसके लिए शिखर को और कृतिका जी को और जिन लोगों ने जो भी कमेंट्स किए हैं, उनसे जो भी ज्ञान मुझे मिला है, उन सबका मैं आभार व्यक्त करती हूँ। बहुत अच्छा है, और इस तरह की चर्चा परिचर्चाएं बराबर चलती रहनी चाहिए। थैंक यू एवरीबॉडी। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much, Vasumati ma'am, and thank you so much everybody. So because we are already running out of time, so we shall wrap up and let us absorb whatever lessons and teachings we have gained today. And let us do 1 minute meditation. Om Sarve Sukhine Santu, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Paschantu, Ma Kashchit Dukha Bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me.
Thank you, Kritika ji, for such a wonderful moderation. Namaste, everyone. Happy Independence Day. Now, I'm ending the meeting.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Shikhar ji. Thank you, Kritika. Already record बजने लगा है झंडा.
Yes.